Good afternoon. Welcome to the active recruiting session that describes about attracting girls to high school computer science. I want to introduce Dr. Lecia Baker. Dr. Lecia Baker is a senior research scientist for the National Center for Women and IT and the associate professor in the School of Information, University of Texas at Austin. She researches computing-related educational settings and how they can contribute to the underrepresentation. In particular, she studies social climate, identity and belonging, adoption of inclusive teaching practices, recruiting mechanisms, and organizational change. Barker develops research-based resources and programs for attracting, retaining, and advancing groups underrepresented in computing. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Today I'm going to talk about what you can do to get girls into your classes. And I have a bunch of resources around here, and I put some over there on that table where I knew that there would be enough for everyone, and I've got the rest cached over here for those of you who really want them. And so I will show them to you. I will try to remember to show them to you as I go along. Okay, so stand up if your class has more than 40% girls. Okay, now, of those, sit down if you're in an all-girls school. You're in an all-girls? Okay, that's funny.
No, I'm still here.
Oh, you're still there?
Yes.
Yay for you. Okay, well, you're a superhero.
Oh, thank you.
Because it is hard to get girls into your classes. We heard some things this morning that told us some of the reasons why. I mean, people don't know what computer science is, or it competes with electives that they need to take to go to college, or there's a bunch of boys in the class and they don't want to go in there, they don't want to be the path breaker. There's a bunch of reasons, but there's also a bunch of great reasons that they don't know about that they should be in there. And so I'm going to talk to you about lots of ideas that we have and ideas that we have learned from teachers and that have worked. Then we have data that show that they work. And then hopefully I'll be able to capture whatever ideas you've got too, because you all have different things that you might do in different settings that may or may not work in some other school, but you never know, and it's worth hearing about. So let me just show you a little bit of data first. This is from, how many of you have heard of the Tapestry Workshops? Okay, so that's about maybe 3/8 of you. Did you like that quick math? Okay, so the Tapestry Workshops include content on computer science, the tech, and some teaching practices, but also about how to get girls and underrepresented minorities into your classes. And so these are, the data that you're looking at is for the outcomes for 113 computer science teachers who went to a Tapestry Workshop last summer of 2012. And you can see that in computer science AP classes, they got 48% increase in girls, 48% increase in AP in general, 73% more girls, and so on. You see the numbers here. Now, this is across 113 teachers, so you'd have to do some division, but it's a start, right? So, and I also, I did ask what were the numbers when they started off, and so the numbers must have been much smaller, right? If 401 is 48% increase, but anyway, it's a good start, and there have been lots of other Tapestry workshops. And so basically what I'm going to talk to you about today is the gist of a Tapestry workshop, which usually lasts 2 or 3 days. How long? 2 or 3 days. Okay, well, we're going to pack it into the next 45 minutes or so. Okay? But I'm going to talk about messages, and this may not be in an order. I don't know what the right order is, but so you have to sort of take all these things together. But what do girls need to hear? Girls and their influencers, parents, teachers, church leaders, principals, other, boys, other people who influence girls, how you can reach out or get those messages out there, how you can raise visibility of computer science in your school, and what kinds of things can you say to when you're in a situation where you're actually personally one-on-one persuading a girl or a group of girls, which is also useful. So that's the outline. So first, let me talk about messages. And we know there's a theory on occupational choice that says that in order for someone to choose an occupation, they have to have an interest, they have to have the confidence that they can do it, they have to feel a sense of belonging in a community of practice or a field, and they have to develop an identity as a person of that sort. So most of you in here are teachers, right? And as you were becoming a teacher, you knew in your mind that you were becoming a teacher. There was a noun that you could say you were becoming. And there's not just one noun for a student who studies computer science to become, right? Usually people don't call themselves computer scientists unless is this true? Unless they're working on a PhD, is that right? But so there's not a good noun to call yourself, but you're still becoming a person who is a member of that occupational field, broadly defined. So you have to think about how your messaging helps them to develop a sense of identity as a member in the field. And I've got some ideas, and I'm going to go through each of these things in turn, although I would say that they're not mutually exclusive, so there might be overlap. Okay, so how can you spark their interest? One, you can talk about how relevant computer science is. I imagine that you already do that. It's everywhere, right? It's in almost everything that we use today. It's in your automobile. So do you think that the kids understand that the safety systems in their cars, the things that might be saving their lives, are being controlled by computing of some sort? So they may not understand just how pervasive it is and just how many jobs there are. But even in the things that the kids think about and care about and use every day, things like Facebook or playing Angry Birds on their phone or something, or is that out of fashion now? People still play Angry Birds?
I think it's Temple Run right now.
It's,
Temple Run.
what is it?
Minecraft.
Okay, so I am way out of touch, but that's not new. Okay, but whatever is going on, talking about how, somebody programmed code to make that happen. I imagine that you already tell kids things like that. And then you can use App Inventor and things like that as assignments to sort of, to bring them into your classroom. Hey, we're going to create some games. We're going to create some apps, something like that. Other things. Computer science is changing healthcare. It's changing education. It's changing the way doctors do surgery, for example, using robotic arms, even the way that they learn to do surgery. I once gave, do you remember the visible human data set? Does anybody in here remember that? Okay, so they took this man, this convict, and when he died, he had donated his body to science, and they put him in a big Jello kind of thing, and then they started taking pictures from the top down, and computer scientists made it possible to reconstruct all that picture and make 3D modules for medical students to give shots to with robotic arms and do all kinds of interesting things with him. So I gave him a shot once, and he said, ow, because I pushed the robotic arm too hard. So it was protecting itself. How would I know?
But MRI imaging and imaging for people who get Alzheimer's, and they don't have to open you up to see what the surgery is going to be that they're going to do 6 months later. They can look and do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so all of those kinds of things that you know about, kids care about. And, by the way, oh, you want to be a doctor, but how much more education are you going to have to get to be a doctor, where you can serve health as a computer scientist with a 4-year degree and make more money and have a lot less student loan debt. And I mean, there's just this combination of ideas that you can put together and a lot of kids don't realize what they can do. Computing is used in a number of ways for enhancing what we can do as humans. Some of you probably recognize this image, maybe. Careful. If you, do you know Lecia Beakley's work at MIT? She makes wearable computing. things. Okay, and she's not the only one. But you could have kids create, put on the back of their coat, like left and right turn signals and things like that using conducive thread. There's all kinds of projects that you can do. It costs a little bit more, you know, if you have to get a lily pad Arduino and things like that, but these things are all possibilities to help people navigate life. As another example, this is a coat. Have you seen, anybody seen this image? The URL is at the bottom there in case you're interested. I think it costs about $75 to do this, but here's the Arduino right here. And what this thing does is that it sends out sonar signals about 18 inches ahead of the person who presumably is blind so that they know if they're about to hit a solid object. So there's all kinds of uses of computing, and there's things that kids could actually build. The instructions are online for this, that can help them to help other people. So figuring out what kids are interested in, it's not all about fun, right? Kids want to be seen as important. They want to have status. I mean, why do they get interested in technology for development, technology for community? It's because they want to be seen as being valued by society as much as anyone else. So if you think that you can just hook them with games, it's really not adequate because they want to do something important in life. Most of us do. I shouldn't generalize to everyone. You can talk to kids about how the work in of a computer science major or whatever, I'm trying to avoid saying scientist, is meaningful. There's all kinds of things that they can do, right? So I have here just a few examples, and you can find a lot more examples at .diva. How many of you have heard of .diva? Okay, so you've got lots more examples there. I have somewhere. I have some cards for the Insuit Heroes, and so you have entrepreneurs talking about their videos online about how they've done what they've done. So if you want kids to watch videos in class or something like that, or have one of the other teachers to show a video, you can point to those. Ask me if you want a teaser card, which now that I'm talking about it, I've lost. Oh, here they are, right here. Okay, so if you want these, they're there. But there's all kinds of things that make life meaningful, make your work meaningful. So I think that you can read what's up there. Restoring artwork, digitizing artwork, right? Or making images findable. There's all sorts of things that you can do. Computer scientists do give back to their communities. There's technology for development, and you can learn about that so that you can maybe get kids involved with these things, or they can do these things locally also. I did a study in a high school in Denver once where in a computer magnet, and my goal was to find out how you get middle school kids interested in a computer magnet. And I think mostly what I found out was how the things that you should not say. But like, for example, one of the first, no, you don't want to hear this, right? But one of the first things I heard was this man saying, if you like machines, you should come to the computer magnet. And I'm like, machine? I mean, are we talking about a big tractor that we're driving down the street? I mean, what kind of, so like the language, getting it right, talking about things that they know is important, right? But in that computer magnet, the kids would go around the school and help all of the teachers with their different technology needs. And they were like well known for being the tech kids. Talk about helping them develop a sense of identity as a tech person. Right, but so there's all kinds of ways that you can give back. There's mobile banking, for example, which is not an easy problem to solve. There's all kinds of security issues involved. There's the human side of it, people, whether they understand money very well or not, and what it means to trade in a community, a very rural community. There's just all sorts of interesting things. There are robots that you can put a half-drowned but still alive person in and send it back to shore. There's just so many things that you can show kids that could get them interested. What about career enjoyment? Well, I pulled this data down yesterday because I figured we should update these slides to 2013. It had 2011 on there. But two of these jobs in the top 10 would benefit by having a computer science degree. And the ones that I put in italics are ones that you need an advanced degree. So if you want to talk to young people about what can you do with a 4-year degree and then earn one of the highest entry-level salaries that there are, here's 2 of the top jobs. Computer scientists work in every industry. It's everywhere. You don't have to work for Google. You don't have to work for Microsoft. You can work for Walmart or Bank of America. All of them need computer science. So every possible kind of job that a kid, I think, well, not if they're going to shovel dirt or something like that, but I'm trying to think of a job requiring a bachelor's degree or even an associate's degree that doesn't need some kind of computer science. Okay. You can find all of that information if you want things to showcase to kids. These are all from .diva.org. I think that you know this, that these jobs are well paid. Do you know that? So this is just here for contrast, child, family, and school, social worker kind of person, not making very much. This is median annual. This is not entry level. Okay, this is a median annual wage. But kids want to enjoy their lives and they need to make an income. So somebody this morning raised an issue about whether families think you can, the parents who want their kids to be able to have a job when they graduate from college. Obviously, this is the kind of data you want to show those parents, right? That this is a good job. And what about whether there are jobs? Have you seen the Bureau of Labor Statistics predictions? So there's lots and lots of demand, more demand for these jobs than almost anything else, especially with a 4-year degree. I mean, if you want to work at McDonald's, there's going to be lots of jobs, right? So when you look at those predictions, you have to sort of weed out the jobs that the kids really probably wouldn't want compared to the ones that they would enjoy more. So just to summarize, if you're going to talk about careers, talk about ways that will spark their interests. It's flexible, every industry, all over the country, anywhere they want to live, they can do computing. This includes with military. Does anybody here work within a military community or where there's a lot of military? You might be interested in the military pathway to computing, to IT and computing careers card. I just brought a few of those. This is part of our Counselors for Computing series so that you can tell counselors what to say, because your counselors in your school may not be informing people about what, very, very well. Okay, so this is a summary. Make sure that you talk about work that is socially relevant, projects in your classes that are socially relevant also, that you do work with other people, that you're not going to sit in a cubicle all day. I wouldn't even bring up the word cubicle, but that's a different part of this talk. I actually observed a computer science professor once trying to really be encouraging to the intro to programming class students, saying, the reason I'm teaching here is because I was tired of sitting in a cubicle all day. And I thought, when are they going to drop the class, before or after the lecture? That you can have time with family. You can think about, if kids talk to you about, I don't know if kids talk to you about things like, will I be able to have a family if I have this job? Does anybody hear that kind of thing a little bit? Okay, well, these issues of work-life balance are not just part of a computing lifestyle, okay? We all have to deal with that. So, and my answer is that there's no good time to have a kid. I had one during midterms in a master's program.
Yes, there is. It's a grandkid. That's wonderful.
I am so looking forward to that.
You can give them back. It's great. You can play with them, be with them, then you give them back. It's just
That's
wonderful.
excellent. I like that. I want one of those. My
Yeah,
sons
but there's
are
a
both
problem.
living
You
at
have to
home
go through
still.
the other stage, yeah.
Yeah. Mine are late 20s, don't even have girlfriends. Okay, sorry. That was very
Today, it's okay.
Okay, now the second part of messaging is about confidence, and I really love this picture because it's really actually not about, it's somebody's confidence that those dogs aren't going to go, but it's not the cat, I don't think. But anyway. Okay, so before I talk about that, I want to talk about the different ways that boys and girls are socialized. And please note that on the slide, it has a lot of words on it, but I say girls more than boys and boys more than girls because nothing's universal. We're not essentially different in different ways, but we do go through different kinds of socialization processes and learn to believe that different kinds of behaviors and ways of communicating are better or worse for the kind of person that we're supposed to be. Not only do we become socialized ourselves, but we expect those things of other people. So we come to expect these kinds of behaviors. So how many of you ever heard the phrase, big boys don't cry? Okay, so you heard that in school when you were a kid, right? And so what happens to the little boy on the playground when he skins his knee? Really, does he cry? What do the other boys do if he cries? They'd make fun of him. What happens if the little girl skins her knee? She cries. Okay, and then what happens? What do the other little girls do? They comfort her, they take her to the nurse's office, and so on. So it's okay for a little girl to cry and express weakness, but it's not okay for a boy to cry and express weakness. And by the time they're in high school, they know very well that they're supposed to present themselves as strong and confident and as having agency, and that the girls, it's okay to say, I'm having trouble with this. Right? Now, let's say that you work in a field that is dominated by male communication behavior, and a female comes and says, I'm really having trouble with this. Are you going to believe that she just is not competent? She just can't do it, right? Or will you remember, it's okay for women to say, I'm having trouble with this. I mean, it's easy to confuse confidence and competence, right? Because of different communication styles that we might have and different beliefs about what kinds of things it's okay to talk about. So I bring this up just so that you remember and think about, we expect boys to do certain things and we expect girls to do certain things, and we have to interact with them differently. Now, if we want to get girls into computer science, we have to remember things like that girls are more likely to be socialized, to believe that they should perform for other people's praise and other people's happiness, right? And boys are not supposed to be concerned with these kinds of things. What this ends up meaning is that girls need more encouragement than boys, even within the same behaviors. And that girls are likely to perceive a lack of encouragement as discouragement. And that's a real problem. You may not even think about it that way. You're just thinking, oh, she did a good job, and you just walk over to the next student to help them, right? Mm-hmm. But she might think, they don't care about me. They don't even want me to be here, whatever. I mean, whatever weird things people think, right? When they don't have that kind of confidence independently. So anyway, you have to think about how boys and girls behave differently and our own expectations for their behavior. And think about that as you're messaging and as you're trying to build their confidence and let them know you can do this. You're going to struggle for a while, but you can do this. And girls might need more yes you can than boys do. Okay, so don't mistake confidence or experience for ability. Okay, how many of you have heard about stereotype threat? Okay, well, we all carry a lot of stereotypes about different kinds of people around with us, and we often act on them, men and women. Okay, this isn't something just men do to women. This is something women do, we do to ourselves, we do to each other, we do to men. I'm not going to give a talk about biases, unintentional biases, but there's all kinds of horrible things that we do to men, like we act as if they can't take care of children well. Like this is the kind of images that you see on TV. And the absence of men behind a vacuum cleaner on TV ads makes you think they can't run a vacuum, but that's just a joke. Okay, but anyway, there's stereotypes about different kinds of people. And so when there's a stereotype about a group of people, and you're kind of aware of that stereotype, that's what I mean by it's salient here, people will perform better or worse depending on whether they're a member of that group. Now, you think that sounds like a theory, and it is a theory, but it has been supported by many, many different kinds of experiments. So one experiment that I will share with you was all about young men taking a math test. They had white men and Asian men, and they were randomly assigned into different groups. Okay, so we're talking about a pretty good experiment because we need random assignment. And so in one group, the treatment or the thing that they manipulated about the group was told, Asian guys usually do better on these math tests. Okay? And then the other group, they say, that stereotype that Asian guys are better at math, it's not true. Okay, so they primed the people in getting ready to take a test with these stereotypes. And as you might guess, in the group where they're told Asian guys do better, the white guys perform worse and the Asian guys perform better. In the group where they're told there's no difference, there's no difference. Now, that's not just one experiment. This has been shown over and over again. I mean, we talk about how people live up to others' expectations for them, right? So now if you think that there's a stereotype about girls and technology, and that gets primed somehow, it's going to chip away at your confidence. It's even probably going to keep a girl out of your class, right? Not all girls. Some of them are going to say, I'm going to do that, and I'm going to finish it no matter what you say. But I've unfortunately heard this young woman that I once interviewed I guess it doesn't matter where, I shouldn't even say, but she said, I went to this group of guys and said, can I be in your study group? And they said, why should we let you be in our group? You're a girl, what do you know? And I was like, gosh, how rude, but of course how honest, right? And she said that at that time, she said, I'm going to finish this major and I'm going to beat them. But when she finished the major and she beat them, she got great grades and stuff, she said, I never want to be around these people again. And she left the field. So, there's all kinds of bad things that can happen. I think that that's less common than the really hidden stuff. So the thing about stereotype is that threat is that you don't want to produce it, and you can produce it in different ways, like saying to a girl who comes to, let's say that you have an open house in your classroom, and the one girl comes to your open house, and you say, oh, you're so brave, I'm so glad you came. What do you mean I'm brave? You just raised the issue. You just pointed out that I'm different. I don't belong here. However it is that she interprets it. So you have to avoid these kinds of things. And if you have someone in your classroom, or if you have a girl who's also affected by the stereotypes that girls just are no good at technology or can't program or whatever it is, even though, as you were saying earlier, so you've been taking math for 8 years, of course you know how to do math, but why would you know how to do computer science, right? You have to tell her, yes, you can learn, and you have to think about the growth mindset versus the fixed mindset. So have any of you heard of Carol Dweck's work at Stanford? Okay, so Carol Dweck has done lots of research, and her grad students have done a lot of research on the fixed versus the growth mindset. And people who have a fixed mindset are less likely to take risks, because if they fail, then they're going to believe that they're no good at something, and they won't believe that they can continue to learn and get better at things. So she suggests that we talk about learning as being like a muscle. You have to exercise it so it can grow and you can keep learning. And one of the things that she said in a talk last May that I thought was a great way of thinking about learning and talking about the growth versus the fixed mindset was she had heard from a school that they didn't give Fs. They didn't give a failing grade. They gave a not yet. as if to encourage somebody to, well, you need to work harder. You need to keep working at it and you'll get it. And I hear from computer science teachers that there's a hump that students need to get over, right? There's this they're going to struggle for a while. So let them know that that's the case and that they just have to keep working at it. And you probably already do that, but maybe they need to know that in advance because, people do talk to each other. So the students who are in might talk to the students who are not in and they won't come. Okay, about belonging. Promoting belonging and inclusivity, some ideas. Recruit people from groups. You can recruit groups of girls. Some of you have heard of Seth. What's his last name? Well, Seth from Florida. Okay. So he's got the computer science cheerleaders group, right? Cheer for computer science or something like that. He actually got a group of cheerleaders in. But getting girls in groups might be a nice way to make sure that they feel a sense of belonging. They already know each other. Ask them to recruit their friends, and so on. Avoid using assignments that only talk about guys and boys and things like that, or problems that they have to work out that boys are more likely to already know something about. Remember the old research on mathematics tests that showed that if you talked about certain kinds of things like how automobiles work, that boys were more likely to already know about it, so it was a smaller cognitive load for them to do well on that test. The physical environment also can matter, like what kinds of pictures do you have in the classroom? Or how are desks laid out? Do you have monitors up there so that nobody can actually see each other? There can't be any interaction. I don't know if you have classrooms like that in high school. I see them in colleges all the time, a computer classroom, and if you're sitting here, there's a big, giant monitor in front of every student and they can hide behind it. It's terrible.
We don't have that kind of equipment.
Well, I think you wouldn't want it, but anyway. And it's also important to let people know, I'm glad you're here, right? I'm glad you're studying computer science. Let them know that you want them there. Okay, about identity. So identity is something that we don't just have, we develop over time, and we develop it in social settings. So this little boy here, obviously he's going to develop an identity of a doctor, or at least he's got the right little uniform to start with. Or maybe a surgeon with that thing on his head. So I don't have as many ideas for this as I would like to have, but things like community service, like I talked about being the kid who goes and talks to other teachers in the school. If you have conferences that kids can go to, if you have, does anybody have poster sessions or ways that kids can sort of showcase their work in the school? Okay, or little outreach projects with, like, to middle schools or something like that, then they can start to feel like I'm one of these people. I am a tech, whatever it is that they might think that they are. Okay, and then there's the issue of role models, and people often think that role models have to look just like the person that they're talking to, right? Well, that's not really true. It helps, but it's not critical. It's not the only thing that matters. Okay, what really matters is that the role model be a person that you can identify with in terms of their values, right? So in the last session, someone was talking about Richard Tapia from Rice University. Well, Richard has not just motivated Mexican American people. He has motivated lots of different kinds of people because his values are there, and he cares about people, and he takes the time to talk to people and share about his life. So you can bring speakers into your classroom, but if you do that, I would be really careful about watching what they say, because people can say, they can plant weeds, as I like to say. A couple of things that I would mention, kids do not have to get a perfect 4.0 or 5.0, depending on what kind of school you have, in order to be successful in high school. So to have someone come in and say, you really need to get straight A's. You know, you just lost me. I have a bunch of different weeds, but I won't, they're not coming to mind instantly, so I'll move on. But there's things that you can say that make the problem worse, right? Okay. About myth busting. Okay, so you know that there's all this thing about geeks and nerds and blah, blah, blah. Do you really think that you should address that? You might create the belief just by addressing it, just by talking about it. So if somebody brings it up, you can talk about it. I personally wouldn't bring it up unless somebody does. The more times you hear something, then the more likely somebody is to believe it. And there's research on that too. But you hear it over and over again, and you know, I've heard that before, it must be true. Right? Or you might say something like, oh, well, people say that computer scientists are a bunch of geeks, but they're really not, except that you just said that they are. Right? So the negation doesn't really help very much. Okay.
It did in your sample with the Asians and the whites.
Yeah, well, it created a...
They brought it up very directly, and you said they responded too.
Yeah. What I mean is that you, like, but negating, yeah, that's right. But that came from a person of authority. What?
They're not I mean, if you're Asian, that's your identity, that's part of your identity. You haven't identified as a geek yet. So.
No, I'm not talking about the geek, I'm talking about bringing up the stereotype.
Right.
Right.
And either verbally trying to debunk it or verbally affirming it. And you mentioned at the beginning
that's right.
that they did what you told them to do, I guess.
That's
whereas
right.
Here you're saying avoid even bringing it up.
I especially wouldn't use the word nerd or geek. And we've had letters from, some of you are familiar with the Girls' Aspirations in Computing Awards. We got a letter from a whole bunch of the girls who got together and said, don't call us geeks. Don't call us geek girls. We just don't want to be called that. Anyway, because sometimes people appropriate the word geek to try to make it seem cool, like saying geekster or something instead. Anyway, but that's an interesting point. I'll have to think about that. So just to remember, if you're talking to somebody, and this is the biggest part of my talk, remember this ICBI, interest, but interest is necessary but not sufficient. Confidence, yes, you can do this. You're going to have to work hard, but you can do it. Belonging, I want you here. You're part of who we are here in our computer science classroom. And identity, help them to build a sense of identity as a computer science person. Okay, so what are some ways that you can reach out and get that message out? Well, do you have orientations at your school? I mean, you can draw attention. You don't have to be as crazy as the famous Seth and bring in a cymbal clapping monkey. Which I now have in my office, because I love that monkey. Or now he's got some other way of getting attention that seems like some bad advertising or something. But you can have posters and showcase projects and things like that. Make sure that parents are aware, they see your posters, that it's okay with them for their kids to take your computer science class. And you have to talk to parents about why it's important for them. And we've got talking points here to help you. To like what are the three things that you ought to say to a parent? We have little brochures, little cards for you cheat sheets. Okay, you can collaborate with clubs. I know that people have worked with like the yearbook group and to create projects with the computer science class. So I know that you can get creative and think about who can I work with in school and sort of create this collaboration and this sense of we're doing this and sort of get the kids in through there. You can have current students talk to prospective students. I'm not sure exactly how that works. I mean, do you get can you go to your math teacher colleague and say, can I have 2 minutes of your class time and send a kid in there? Does that work?
I mean, we have an elective fair at our school, which works really nicely, and students get time to go around it. I get large groups of students to talk to potential students. It's way better than me.
Yeah.
And I have written up a why computer science and given it to some of my colleagues in the math department, and people who I've collaborated with and developed a relationship over the time, and then they will at the end, when they're doing their course selections, she'll hand out to all the students that are sort of rising into the grade that they could actually do it. And that's work that my numbers were up a little bit this year.
Great.
I've gone back and spoken to high school students about majoring in engineering and trying to recruit them into robotics clubs and things like that, specifically girls, and it's worked pretty well. It's like having student interaction.
So-
Maybe come back,
Yep.
like
Doing
college
that.
students come back and talk to us.
It works really well.
Okay, and we did some of that in Texas too, yes.
In some of my smaller classes, what I do is I pair up with our Algebra 2 and Geometry teachers, and I use programs like App Inventor and Scratch. And I'll have my programming students kind of be like TAs that float around the room, and we actually and I'll actually create a lesson for the Algebra 2 or Geometry teacher that just directly correlate to what they're learning there. So they're learning geometry concepts and stuff they have to learn for the math class, so the teacher doesn't feel like they're taking out their time. You're using your lab where they're not having to go to the media center, and then you're introducing kids into the computer science class. And the math class has a nice, even 50-50 balance into it already.
Yeah. And so you're leveraging something that those teachers already have to do.
Right.
And then a nice touch is to go to the students who are doing something well, you know, you're good at this, you should take my computer science class.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah. Or have another student say that, you're good at this, you'd really like our class. So, okay. Other people can deliver the message for you. Speaking of counselors, I have here some posters. Have you seen these? So if you can't trust your counselor to give the right message, give them a poster. Have them put the poster on the wall, and they can look up at it and say, oh, I think that you could, whatever. So here's the part of our Counselors for Computing series. And I have a few posters here if somebody wants to take them back to their counselor. Other things I have for the Counselor for Computing is Military Pathway to IT and Computing Careers, University Pathway. This one is Why Should Young People Consider Careers in Information Technology? I have also other talking points. So for parents, for example, this one is ¿Por qué las jóvenes deberían considerar una carrera en tecnología de la información? So if you have parents who are speaking Spanish, even if their kids are speaking English, which they likely are if they're taking a class from you, we have lots of these, and you can take some today, or you can mail us for them. You just want to send them home to parents. We do have that in English also. So you can let other people speak for you, but control the message. Control what they say, because, again, you don't want people planting weeds. You don't want some girl going into another classroom. I remember the worst thing I heard was, and say something like, well, I think it's really great to be a girl in computer science because it means that I can swim with the boys, or I can run with the boys, or something like that. It's like, oh, you have to be a boy to be good, and I happen to be a special kind of girl. We don't want that message out there. That's not true, right? So you have to, watch and be careful with what you give them.
You can do a job fair. I live in Washington, D.C., so I guess it's easier for me to do that. But I set up what it is that they can say and can't say, and that poster like you have for the
For the counselors.
counselors, they have their own posters, like the Coast Guard.
Mm-hmm.
If you see, I wish it was 19. You can see what those girls can do. It's fabulous.
That's cool. That'd be fun. Forget computer science.
You can get your medical degree or your computer science degree. If you go to the Coast Guard Academy, you
Oh.
only owe them 2 years, but you can select a level of training that will be paid for. Plus I'm
Okay.
not.
So I have a feeling that I'm burning up a lot of time. So let me hurry up. We also have, if you want to or want someone else to go talk to the school district about why computer science ought to be for all students or why it should be taught or something, we have this set of talking points called Moving Beyond Computer Literacy, Why Schools Should Teach Computer Science, if that's helpful to you. We have numbers. This is statistics. This is a pocket size. Do you have those? You keep one in your wallet? Okay. It's got the pretty current data. We update this regularly. We have this online too, but the pocket size is cute. I think you know a lot more about this than I do, but before they choose their classes is the time, but there might be some other timing things that you can tell me about. Okay, I'm going to rush through this, but how can you make computer science visible to the rest of your school? Posters. I mean, you can print posters, right? Maybe. Show photographs of stuff that your kids have done. Put them outside. Make sure you've got some girls on those photographs. Not just one girl, maybe more than one. Make sure that it's linking to their existing interests, things that they care about. So if you're going to show a robot, don't show it a transformer. Remember those? Show like a life-saving robot or something. If you're going to have a photograph, make sure that there's people, not things. Like, don't show how great your classroom, all your technology is, but show people interacting around it, because it's the more that social, communicative thing. I like this photo down here, a girl that created an app for something in a museum, and so that could be just a picture of one of your students showing, hey, I created this, and have it outside of your classroom, put it in the library, or wherever you can put posters and things like that. This is the same slide you saw a while ago, but it's another way of making something really visible. If students are doing this kind of thing, take pictures of it, take pictures of them doing it, and put the pictures outside the classroom. Especially if they're going to be working in groups, then it looks like a communicative activity, community. Can you believe I found a photo of a robotics team that looks like it's half girls? Okay. I know a lot of you have heard of the Aspirations in Computing Award. I'm not going to talk a lot about it, but girls win real prizes. And they get to go to, the ones who win at the national level, go to the NCWIT Summit. This year it was in Tucson, a very cool place, and it had like a water slide and everything. But their parents and the girls go, and there's some cards over there that can tell you a little bit more about it and how to get involved. And basically, you don't even, if you're in a rural area, you probably don't have as many resources, and we take that into account in the evaluation. But, really what matters the most is that a teacher has written something about the girls, said, this girl is doing a great job. And the thing about this aspirations program is it's not just about the girls. It's about bringing attention to computer science and bringing attention to your school. So we include, for example, a press release template that you can fill out and send to the local newspaper so that they'll publish something about these girls who won this stuff in Miss Jones' class or something like that.
And they give educator awards too.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm actually able to be here right now, so it works really nice.
Right, okay. Good question?
As a presenter of the award and as a judge of the award, let me say that the biggest difference in the applications is what the teacher writes, what you said. Because, pardon me, because all the girls are fantastic. They all have done this and that and the other. They're all fantastic, at least the ones I get to see by the time they get to me. But some of the teachers just write, this is a great student who really deserves the award. That's all they write. And you go, well, some really go into detail. And so if you get a girl to do this, try to find a teacher who really will, you don't have to write a book, but a paragraph,
Yeah,
was
give
really
some
good.
evidence. I observed these things, right? Yeah. And these girls, like the ones that do win, they've done so many things, I don't even know what they're talking about. And a whole lot of different things.
There's also,
But they don't have to be, they don't all have to win at the national level. Even just getting recognition is good. I'm sorry.
well, I was just going to add, here in the Northeast, we give scholarships, Amherst gives scholarships, Boston, UMass Boston, all the UMass campuses give significant scholarships to the girls who win. And I'm sure it's true in other places as well.
It is. The NCWIT's Academic Alliance has about 300 university and colleges as members. And these people are out there trying to get these aspirations girls to their, it's a competition to get the girls to come to their campuses, right? Okay. What about personal persuasion? Make sure that your students, that the girls that you're trying to persuade, understand how you will help them be successful, you and the other students around them, because there could be that confidence problem, right? I don't think I can do it. No, I'll make sure that you can. it's not as if they already know how to program. They have to learn, and they have to understand that there's going to be that little hurdle to start with. But you can talk about how interesting the projects are, what kind of support they will get to make sure that they can get the project done. You can connect it to career, so I'm sort of repeating myself, but those little phrases that I have at the bottom here, they are so powerful. Coming from you, from a teacher who knows so much and is such an authority and respected and admired, you'd be good at this. That is so powerful.
It's even more powerful when you say, I want you in my class and I ain't taking no for an answer, for the electives.
Right, okay. Well, that was another thing as I have down here is about, okay, what about later on? You don't have to take it now, but what about next year? Right? Okay, so I have a lot of slides left. How do you overcome objections? You listen to people, use their name, and then say, well, can I tell you about the Bureau of Labor Statistics predictions? Give them good evidence, good reasons to think that what they were thinking was wrong. Right? Well, I understand you saying that, but can I show you some of the projects that my other students have done? They're really cool, and they knew nothing when they started. So, what about offshoring? I heard something about that today. Yes, there are jobs that are offshored. The Bureau of Labor Statistics projects so many jobs requiring computing. Just if you have that data, and we have it on the NCWIT website, you just need to share that with the kids and with the parents. What kinds of jobs are offshored? The ones that use words like code monkey, right? We just need somebody to program this thing that is very well specified already, because the jobs that require communication and group collaboration and everything, those are less likely to be offshored.
And I just met with someone at GM not that long ago, and they actually have about 90% of their jobs offshore right now. But that has not worked at all, and so they're actually trying to flip the percentage and bring that 90% back into the United States.
That's interesting.
And at the Microsoft session yesterday, they said Microsoft has 6,000 jobs they can't fill.
Yeah, and so what's our solution as a country? H-1B visas, right? Well, let's grow them at home. We can't just have the visas all the time. What about underrepresentation? Okay, so the girls are going to say, well, there's hardly any girls in computing, and I don't, whatever. Or girls don't belong in computing. But 100 years ago, our grandmothers, our great-grandmothers really paved the way for women to be in medicine and all kinds of careers that women weren't in 100 years ago. So we need to just let them know that that's true, but we're going to change that. Okay, that's the way it was in a lot of professions, and we're going to change those. Okay, and you can also show them lots of contributions. We have some videos on the website. We have some stories on the website, and you can go to .diva and find all kinds of interesting things. Okay, I already said don't let refusal be permanent. Can we talk about this again next year? Okay, let me talk a bit about some more resources, and you can go through all the stuff that I've got here. But some of you may or may not have already seen our clickable interactive map. Have you seen this? Okay, the data needs to be updated, but what a job. Okay, so you can click on your congressional district, and you will get specific information about what the Bureau of Labor Statistics projects in terms of jobs, and what kinds of degrees will be produced within that district, and show the disparity between projections and degrees produced. It's not perfect. You will raise a lot of questions, but it works with members of Congress. But because we, as the social scientists behind this, we were like, yeah, but what about this? What about that? Okay, forget it. It's going to work with Congress. So it's a pretty good tool to say, we need more computer science. So it's an advocacy tool. And we have all the talking points and things that I've shown you. We have a lot more than what I just brought today to show you. We have promising practices that includes like classroom, collaborative learning, and things like that. We have programs in a box, like the unplugged stuff that Dan Garcia was talking about. We have the unplugged in a box, and there's a teaser card over here if you want to get to it. We have talking points. I don't know what else we have. Lots of stuff. So visit our website. We have different kinds of events like the Tapestry Workshops, the Aspirations events. I don't know what else. We have too much.
What
The-
about the Anita Board, conference?
The Anita Board, the Grace Hopper Conference Celebration of Women in Computing, that's not ours.
It's not?
Well, the Anita Borg Institute was a co-founder. Tully Whitney was a co-founder of NCWIT, and we're like really strongly connected, but we don't hold the Grace Hopper Conference. But it's a great place to take girls and young women and show them that there are lots of women out there in computing, and they appreciate seeing that. The last thing I would encourage you to do is to think about who you talked to. Maybe write it down. You know, who did you talk to? What did you say? How did you influence people? And then when girls start coming into your classes, write down, this girl experienced this, so that you can figure out what works and what doesn't work in your place. Does that make sense? Okay, just do a little bit of formative evaluation of your own. You know, if you find out, well, I did that stuff and nobody showed up, then don't do that anymore. Try something else, right? And report it back. Report to us. You can write me. Report to this community. Report it at SIGC or wherever it is, regional conferences, to let other people know what you did, what worked, and what your outcomes were, so that they can try something similar in their places. So that's enough talk from me and from them. So what else do you do that works? What can you share with each other?
I find that I took over my program about 5 years ago, and we started off with 32 students, and this year we have 225 enrolled for next year. And the thing that works great for me is non-nerdy computer science shirts. And the key thing is non-nerdy. Like, I have a shirt that says Computer Science Rocks. It's very gender neutral, but when you get into like the nerdy stuff, I find that my girls don't wear it. And the entire purpose of wearing that t-shirt is to advertise for my class later on. Even though the kids don't realize, they just think it's another shirt to wear that supports the school spirit and everything else.
And do you buy both girl style shirts and boy?
They're t-shirt, so they're not fitted, no.
Okay, because girls are shaped differently from boys, and
There are girl t-shirts.
and there are girl shirts out there. But one time,
But they usually cut the neck and they
oh,
modify.
they can do all
yeah.
kinds. They can put
Yeah.
beads and all. I mean, we gave some girls some boys shirts once, and they just cut them apart and beaded them, did all kinds of beautiful things with them.
Yeah.
So that was great. So you can let the girls customize if you can't, because the boys shirts are cheaper, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
The other thing that seems to work is giving the girls more confidence in 6th grade, 7th grade, in middle school, when you grasp them and say, hey, you can do this, then they will not have any hindrance in going into the classes and doing certain stuff, and it gives them a sense of accomplishment. And then the follow-up would be a class in high school saying, I did this before, so I'm repeating this. The platform is different, but the content or the concept is the same. So it has worked at our school. We have seen, that's why I have that kind of girls in the AP class that I have. I have about 40% of them, half of them around. So the success has been having more exposure at the middle school level and then continue after.
So one thing I would add to that is if you do some kind of activity, like an outreach activity, make sure you tell the kids what they learned. Say, by the way, you just learned, you did an introductory exercise to recursion, which is really important to computer science. I don't know if you would do an outreach project with recursion, but something like that. So, and if you liked doing this, you should take these classes. Which reminds me that I have some cards here. How can I prepare for a computing major? So if you want to take some of those back to the kids. So it tells them what kind of classes to take while they're still in high school. I also have this card, which computing pathway is right for me. So it discusses several different majors, not just computer science. Talk with faculty, talk with your colleagues about stereotype threats. So here's some talking points, make it easier to talk about. Forgot about this. What else? Do we still have more time?
say it the opposite way. When there's only 1 or 2 or 3 girls in the class, the collective maturity of the class just drops. So, you know, gender issues and equity issues aside, it was a necessity for me to get the girls in there. And I found the single most revolutionary thing, as simple as it sounds, but this is what works for me now, and now I do not have problems getting girls in my class, was what she said. Getting the girls that are already in the AP and the advanced classes or recent graduates to come back and tell the kids in my pre-AP classes why they're doing what they're doing, what they're getting out of it, what they want. I might season it with the group a little bit with a male or 2 here, but I'm obviously targeting the females when I do that. And that has turned it around big time. I have 25 seats in my AP class, and each year I have 50 to 60 kids trying to get those seats. And I have pretty much, 50-50 on the male and female on that. And that was, I don't tell my coworkers this because I'm competing with the biology and the chemistry teachers for those kids, but I'll tell you guys, that is of all the things that I do, that is the single most powerful thing as far as, reaching the kids that are close, because I'm just an old white male, but you come talk to my kids anytime you want. It works.
At the election fair, is that where you have them from? They come to your election fair, or do you have some kind of?
No, I'm kind of one of these lucky guys that actually has a computer course in play that all of our students have to take. And so, when it's getting to be elective recruiting season, I kind of bring those in. I also work that in with I think some of you guys know about the University of Washington little 2 to 3 minute clips of people who have, they've majored in CS at the college level and then gone on to show. If you show those and then space those out, that's really effective too.
I think we're out of time. Jesse, did you want to add one last?
Well, I just want to say another approach that we use at the university level is interdisciplinary courses. And we have workshops that you're all invited to that are National Science Foundation funded. We'll have 2 more on this grant, one in January and one next June. And secondary and middle school teachers can come to these workshops, even though they're targeted for the university level. And I'd be happy to tell you about them. We have a whole website, and comments from people and everything else.
What's
So
the
it's
URL?
Well, the URL is you have to be able to spell it. It's Performomatics, and there's a ma in there. MAMATICS.org. It's a performomatics.org because it's performance and addicts like mathematics, so performomatics, that's where that comes from.
Got it.
But the main focus, our examples are all computing and music because I work with music professors. But we've had people come from all different fields. And the idea is to come in pairs so that 2 teachers one teacher comes from the science area and one comes from the other area. And you work together to create materials. That's what you do in the workshop. And it's a hell of a lot of fun. There's tons of pictures on the website, things like that. You're welcome.
Okay. Posters. Who wants a poster? Oh my gosh.
Can we just mail you?
I have, yes, you can also, you'll find LECIA hard to miss because, all right, I also have this, this is Counselors for Computing information sheet about resources. Here's another poster. What you
Let's give a big round of applause.
Oh.